Hey guys, it's Rabbit, and I know I don't normally make these sorts of, internet commentary type videos, but I did want to do a little bit of a follow-up to a comment I had left on a video earlier today that ended up resulting in me getting a couple of private messages from girls in particular who feel as though my comment made me seem as though I am anti-equality for women or anti-feminist, which I'm absolutely not. So if you are watching this video, you probably have already seen some of the things that Anita Sarkeesian has created, or you watched the interview that I had left the comment on. So I don't want to go into all of this backstory about who she is and what she's appeared on or anything like that. All you need to know, if you are not familiar with her, is that her name is Anita Sarkeesian, and she is a very active women's rights individual who really wants to strive for equality for women in video games, which, I definitely give her props for such a lofty goal and a lofty cause. But I do think there are some flaws in some of the things that she has created, as well as some of the statements that she has made in the past. And although as a woman myself, I definitely support equality, I come from an immigrant family. I am among the first of all the women in my family to have a master's degree, so to get an advanced education. So of course I'm for women's rights and for equality. But before I start talking about my stance on everything and further elaborating on the comment, I want to read verbatim the comment that I had left on this video wherein she was being interviewed by Stephen Colbert on the Colbert Report. And a lot of people were obviously upset that she got any sort of airtime or any sort of attention just because of who she is and what she's done, and there's just a lot of controversy surrounding her. But again, you can do all that research yourself. A quick Google search on her and you will find out everything you need to know in case you are kind of lost going into this video. But just to save a little bit of time, let me just get started and read my comment that I left on the video of her being interviewed by Stephen Colbert on the Colbert Report. So, I said, although I can't speak too much on the entire Gamergate scandal going on, I will say that there's something about Anita Sarkeesian in general that bothers me. As a female who has grown up playing and loving video games of all genres for my entire 25 years of life, I do hold some level of appreciation for someone calling attention to a few tropes that desperately need to go, or at the very least need to have their presence minimized. But Anita's arguments are so bizarre, and so many of her examples just don't seem quite right to me. I also find it a bit odd that she never really focuses on offering praise to truly great female characters within games that she criticizes for being misogynistic, but on the flip side, she'll give praise to some games that don't really seem like they fit her agenda. I remember watching one of her videos, and she had Rhapsody: A Musical Adventure as a positive example of having a strong female protagonist. But why? The protagonist, named Cornet, was a typical love-struck female character whose sole purpose, and conveniently the source of action that fueled the entire game's plot, was to marry a prince. She, Cornet, didn't even initially care who the prince was. She just wanted to marry one and find her one true love that she already decided needed to be some form of royalty. How does that symbolize strength, courage, dignity, or self-respect, which I'm assuming are the values that Anita wants female characters to represent? Cornet didn't end up meeting a prince while questing for other purposes. She just wanted to marry one, happened to find one, fell in love at first sight, then spent the rest of the game trying to be with someone she barely knew, just because of the title that he held. I just don't understand. Does Anita play these games that she pulls out of her bag of tricks, or is she just conveniently Google searching game types, reading rough descriptions of them, and then deciding that they'll do? I commend her for trudging into somewhat uncharted territory when it comes to examining women's roles and depictions in games, but I don't like her as a person and have a difficult time trusting her. She seems so disingenuous and hardly credible to be using the specific examples that she confidently throws around. I feel as though she's very biased in her examples, and I don't like that she seems to ignore that there are tropes that target men as well, and there are plenty of male video game characters who completely are there for female fan service. Her entire crusade is just so bittersweet to me. I wish she was a more likable and credible person because I do understand where she's coming from, but I don't like the way she's doing it. I would respect her more if her goal was to truly carry out some sort of research study that examines how these allegedly harmful games are actually impacting the way men view women. One of her constant arguments is that many of these games perpetuate the mindset that women are weak, helpless, and need to be saved, or that women are objects to be ogled and fondled. But what evidence does she have to support this claim? If there was an actual study that did demonstrate that boys from ages blah to blah who played insert game genres and or game titles here displayed more aggressive behavior towards girls, then I feel like she'd have a leg to stand on. But so far, I just feel like she's drawing all of her conclusions from assumptions that are being casually made without her truly seeming to have a firm grip on gaming itself. She certainly doesn't at least strike me as someone who's played half of the games she utilizes as examples. So, rant done. But, as someone with a Master's of Science degree myself, it just pains me to see someone being so heavily praised for great work by certain media outlets and academicians when I feel like she's not even doing it the right way. Everything just seems so half-assed and insincere, and I just don't want her representing me as a female gamer in her mission to seek some sort of arbitrary level of equality. Is it just female deaths in games that she feels need to go, or all deaths? Should female characters be the only ones not showing any sort of skin, or all characters? Because there certainly are some men in games that are quite beefy and leave very little to the imagination with their costumes. Granted, it may not be perpetuated or as readily noticed as it is with female characters, but what is she seeking? Are women the only ones who need to cover up, or are we talking about everybody? Or is it only some of the female characters that need to cover up, but having a few not covered up is okay? I just don't understand what she's trying to accomplish with some of her examples of things that need to evolve and change. At the end of the day, I'll give her some level of respect for her drive to at least seek reform in an area that she regards as desperately needing it. But there's just something about her that rubs me the wrong way, and I wish someone would approach this whole topic in a more factual and scientific manner rather than just saying women aren't treated right in games and it's impacting the way we are viewed and treated by men. It's a great hypothesis, but let's follow that opinion up with a little research and evidence. So that was the comment that I left. In case you guys are interested, I can post it in the description box down below if you want to actually read it instead of listening to me try to read it out loud for you. And I know my voice has been giving in and out, so I apologize for the quality of rereading that to you. But basically, I didn't think it was easy to really misconstrue my message here. There were at least 3 moments where I said, I want to give Anita, praise and credit for how she really is trying to pioneer this whole realm of media. Because, people always talk about how women are represented in television or movies or magazines, blah, blah, blah. But there's not really that much social conversation or commentary going on regarding video games and women. And as a very avid female gamer myself, I know a lot of you have heard me comment on how there are some tropes that really irritate me, and there are some character types that I also find just equally agitating. So I do agree that there are some things that I would like to see minimized or just completely abolished altogether. But at the same time, as someone who is a researcher myself, a lot of you who have followed my gaming channel for a while, like you've been there with me throughout me doing my undergrad. I was a triple major, and then I did my master's degree, and I did a lot of research. Even now I'm working for a research facility, and it's just one of those things that I think if you are going to be the face of an entire movement, I would think you would have a little bit more factual information following your trail and alongside your campaign, whereas she doesn't really have a lot of that going on for her. And what I find particularly unnerving is that she had, I don't remember what year it was, maybe it was like 2 years ago, whatever, it's not that important, but she had launched a Kickstarter and ended up amassing like $40,000. It was a very, very large sum of money that people had donated to her for her to create a series, which I believe is called Feminist Frequency, wherein she examines different aspects of gaming and how women are represented and how certain types of characters and the way that they're dressed and blah 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 ends up leading to another layer of sexism because men are viewing women as objects or as damsels in distress. And she's got a lot of like specific things that she likes to highlight, but that's kind of the general statement, I guess, to encapsulate what she feels like certain games embody and how they are harmful to women. But anyway, it was just really weird because she got all this money and then made a series that I feel like anybody could pretty much do on a low budget. And like I said, I support the cause, again, come from a family of immigrants, and I get that women's rights are very important, and I appreciate that I had the opportunity to get an education because we are here in America, and I had the opportunity to choose my husband rather than having like an arranged marriage because I'm here in America. Like, there are a lot of things that women who advocate for equal rights have allowed to happen, and I'm really grateful for that, and I support those causes. But my thing is, I support equality in general, and I think if you are going to take such a strong and passionate stance against something, you really should have something to support it. And as I kind of articulated in my comment, I felt as though, and I feel even now, as though her approach to this entire thing is just one level or one part of the whole research process. Like, she has a very realistic hypothesis that she thinks a lot of the ways that women are portrayed in video games do lead to harmful perceptions in men about what women are supposed to look like or how they're supposed to be treated. And you could say that there is a little bit of sexism, and you could argue that maybe there is misogyny present as well, but you have to go further than that. That's a great starting point. Okay, I believe that this is what video games are doing, and this is the image that video games are portraying, and it's a harmful outcome. Okay, great. But now what are you going to do about it? You have $40,000, you have the resources available to you to actually launch some sort of longitudinal study, or you could even do some sort of interview, or I don't know, I just feel like some sort of combination of qualitative and quantitative data could have been collected by her and analyzed by a team, or even just like 3 or 4 people. I just feel like she didn't do anything, and it's very hard to view her as a credible source of information for this when all she is doing is just espousing her own opinions. And I'm okay with that. One of the other beautiful things about being in this country is that we are allowed to share our opinions, but I think it's odd that she's been elevated to this status of being like a figurehead in this women's rights movement for the video game realm, when I don't feel like she's done anything to warrant that title or to warrant that acclaim. So that was kind of where my whole comment came from. And after I had made it, I got at least like 7 or 8 women actually who had private messaged me, and they were like, oh my gosh, as a female who plays games, like, we can't believe that you would say all these things, do not care about the women's rights movement, and blah blah blah. And like 2 of them were saying really nasty things, telling me that I'm anti-feminism and anti-feminist and anti-equal rights. And I was like, whoa, ladies, like, take it easy. Definitely for equal rights. You're misunderstanding how I'm approaching this. I'm not saying that she's a bad person, and I'm not saying that she doesn't have a valid opinion, but it's still an opinion, and that's the thing that I want to stress. And I don't feel like people should be taking this opinion and treating it as a fact without having anything to support that. And I can say honestly, just from all the years that I have played games and that I have been involved in like the whole gaming community, sometimes it is a little bit disheartening to see certain females being utilized over and over again, or certain tropes being utilized over and over again. And I agree that some of them could arguably have some sort of detrimental effect, but there's not enough to really suggest that. And as far as I know, there hasn't been an actual concrete study to confirm that. And if you wanted to go a step further, I guess for me, it's hard for me to really get that invested and involved in her whole project, because I feel like, don't we have kind of bigger fish to fry? I think a lot of people recognize that women are portrayed a certain way in the media in general, and yes, video games are uncharted territory and definitely worth examining, but I don't know, I guess, like I said, the simple way that I'm viewing it is I think we have bigger fish to fry. I personally have not experienced anything majorly negative while playing games. There are characters that I find annoying, but then I feel like in the games that I've played, I've always felt like there was a good counterbalance to that. So for example, my husband and I are very slowly playing through The Legend of Dragoon here on this channel, and you guys already know, if you've watched me play through that so far, that I hate Shayna as a character. I think she's an absolutely terrible female character, and she does very beautifully fit into Anita's idea and definition of a damsel in distress. And I agree with her that watching that type of character get any sort of like development or any sort of attention, and for whatever reason be viewed as a suitable character to rehash and reuse in other games, it is frustrating because I don't think she's a good character. But at the same time, there's another like woman that I think, or actually there are different girls in the game in general, but specifically just to avoid spoilers if you haven't played the game, even though it came out a long time ago, there is Rose, who I think is a wonderful counterbalance. She's a very strong female character that I think does a very excellent job of portraying what true feminine beauty and strength can still look like. But you don't often hear about people talking about the Roses in games. They focus on the Shaynas because they are the ones that are upsetting for female gamers to encounter, and then they just completely forget that there are other ones that you can still look at and say, hey, but I like this character right here. So I don't know, like, I guess for me, I try to view the big picture, and if there's a character or two, or even a trope that I just don't like, I will say I don't like it and that I would like for it to change. But you also have to consider the audience of some of these games, and I think sometimes she goes to such an extreme when she almost makes this weird suggestion. I don't know if she's ever come out and blatantly stated this, but I feel as though she implies that the gaming industry kind of ostracizes women and isn't very inclusive, whereas I don't feel that way at all. And my sister's also a very big gamer, the two of us, and we've never gotten that impression from games. Like, we've always just felt like, okay, this character sucks and is annoying, but we find someone else that we really like and we want to see them develop throughout the plot of the game. So, I don't know, I just feel like her entire way of tackling this is very limited. It is not research based at all, even though she's getting a lot of attention and acclaim from even academicians. That's why I put that in there, that okay, I get that the media is not always your main source of accurate information, but when you hear about, like, I don't know, like women's studies professors who are praising her and universities wanting her to come speak, just for me, it's frustrating because I don't think she's done anything to deserve all of this positive attention. Although, in a way, like I said, again, it's good that she wants to focus on this and that she's bringing attention to this, but I would like to see her do a little bit more before people are viewing her as some sort of genius and like a major pioneer. I'm not with it, you know? So I guess that's it. I didn't really want to droll on too much. I know this video is a more serious one, and usually I'm pretty laid back, and I don't, like I said, usually make videos that comment on social things going on or internet things going on, but I wanted to address that because I did get so many women private messaging me, and I wanted to make it very clear that I am 100% for equality for everybody, like not just for women. I think everyone should be equal regardless of your religion, your ethnicity / race, sexual orientation, biological sex, your gender, however you identify yourself as, whatever it is. I think everyone's equal and everyone should be treated as an equal. So just let that be known. And again, if you guys are interested in seeing the comment itself, I do have it saved, so I can just put it in the description box if you would like to read it for yourself rather than having to go to the video to see the comment that I made. But yeah, that's about it. I apologize for taking any of your time, and if this was a waste of your time to talk about this, but like I said, I just wanted to address the matter and put it out there that I love women and I love equality. I just am not a huge fan of Anita Sarkeesian, and although some people fall to either extreme on the spectrum of I love her or I fucking hate her, I think I'm somewhere in the middle, more around like I'm not a huge fan of her, but I appreciate what she's trying to do. So I'll go ahead and just conclude with that. Again, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoy enjoyed listening to my opinion about this, and if not, well, whatever, let's just get back to playing video games together. So anyway, guys, take care, and I will be in touch with you soon with whatever episode I end up putting up after this video. Bye, guys.